Hi everyone, my name is Rita Petinaro. I'm by no means an expert in politics, but I have to tell you, I am so afraid. We have spent $1 billion in political funding, and I still, to this day, don't understand who I should be voting for, how I should be voting, and how they really understand how I'm supposed to understand what it is that these guys are going to do for me, for the American citizens, when it comes to the elections and once they win. I've put together here an RFP, a request for proposal. What I do for a living is I'm in the outsourcing world. So my job is to have RFPs, to respond to these RFPs. In the RFPs, usually I have to put down what we do for a living, how we do it, how we're going to do it, and how we're going to stick to what we say we're going to do it. In addition to it, there's addendums and attachments and financial reports and so on that I have to put together that basically says that I am going to do what I say I'm going to do. So I've put together, I've drafted, it's probably 25 pages, but I certainly need someone's help to put it together completely. I'm afraid, of course, it's too late for this year, but I'm really upset. $1 billion in advertisement, $1 billion going all over the world, telling the world what you believe in, what you're going to do when you're a politician, when you become president, and I still don't understand. I don't have a really good grasp of what you're doing. So in this RFP, I've covered things like an overview. I've covered topics like employment, unemployment. I've covered topics such as healthcare. Explain healthcare to me. Provide me the current status of healthcare, how you plan to change healthcare, and how you're going to incorporate those plans and keep it within the 4 years that you're in office, or 8 years. What's the 8-year plan if you get reelected again? Foreign affairs and policy and exchanges. What is the current state of foreign affairs? In addition to that, what do you want to see change? How are you going to make things change? And then I've specifically gone through and said, Russia, explain to me about Russia, explain to me about Iran, explain to me about Iraq, Korea, Afghanistan, Pakistan, the Middle East overall, China. Help me understand the trade association, how that works, and how much are we exporting and how much are we importing. Wouldn't you like to see that all in writing? And I've gone on to talk about the war. What are the expenses associated with the war? What are the expenses associated in the next 4 years? And in the next 8 years, what do you anticipate the budget to be like? How are these men and women going to be safe? It's all documented here, and what they have to do is put an answer. Immigrants. How are you going to deal with immigrants? Social Security, a big one. Not that the other issues are not big. What is the current status of Social Security? How do you plan to make that work in the next 4 years? And if you're reelected again in the next 8 years, how does that work for the private sector? What is your vision? I see after the 3 debates, after all this politicking, I still don't understand. I don't understand. Welfare, how does that work currently? How do you see it working by state? Union. How do you feel about the union right now? A lot of the jobs are going offshore. Why? Some of the issues are because of union. Is that true? Is that not true? If that's the case, put it in here. Tell us your plan about the union. Education, money. How do you plan to spend your budget? How do you get your budget? How do you allocate that? How do you allocate your expenses? Again, I go back to $1 billion spent in politicking, and I don't understand what you're going to do for the American people. Trade. Explain trade to me. Explain to me religion, same-sex marriage, abortion, taxes. What's the current state of taxes? What's it going to be like when you're president? What do you expect? How are you going to balance the budget? Give us a specific plan on how you're going to balance the budget. It should be in this document. What are the government affairs? What are the government expenses overall? The deficit. Explain to me in detail how you're going to solve this problem. What is going to happen in the next 4 years and in the next 8 years? And I've put other things down, aerospace and so on, that I'm sure there's other topics that I didn't discuss. But this is the request for information, right? Or request for proposal. What happens in this case is that the president and those that want to be president. And again, this could qualify for everyone that's running for any government office. What you need to do is you need to complete this. You need to attach all the necessary documentation. You need to present this to the American people so that the American people can vote based on the information that you've put here. Not on how well you can conduct a debate, not how nice and good looking you are, or the suit that you're wearing, or how charismatic you are. None of that matters when you become president. What matters when you become president is, are you going to do what you say you're going to do? However, you're saying things that you're going to do, but I don't quite understand what that's like. So I propose that you complete this RFP, you give it to the American people, and from there, we make a determination, an educated determination as best we can on this document on how to vote. Because right now, if you're like me, American people, you're going to vote, but based on what? We can have a debate ourselves, we can have an argument ourselves, and which president is most likely to change the economy for the better, for the worse. But do we really know? Have we seen any documents? Have we read? Or are we making emotional decisions come this election year? So I propose that I don't want to make an emotional decision. I want to make an intelligent decision. How do I do that? When I complete RFPs and clients have to select me or my company to do business with, they base it on the information that I provide. Once I provide this information, I get shortlisted. Once I'm shortlisted, then they delve in deeper. They do their due diligence to select my company from an outsourcing perspective. From there, I still have to follow through what I originally wrote in the RFP. If I don't, they could cancel the contract and go to a competitor. So I'd like to propose to the American people that now that we have this document, once completed, the president himself, herself eventually, will have to answer to this. And if they make any changes, or if they don't do what's in this document once they're elected, what do we do? And that's what we need to figure out. And if they decide that they can't change the deficit the way they decided, if they can't run the taxes the way they indicated that they were going to during this election process, again, $500 million per person, let's just say, that they've spent on this election. If they complete this, they don't ever have to go on camera. They don't have to spend $1 billion to tell me what they're going to do and how to vote. It's all here. Again, we've just saved $1 billion. They put this on the internet. We read it and we make an educated guess. Not all this crazy, crazy stuff that's going on now. I'd like your opinion on what you think about this RFP. I realize that it might be too late now, so we're probably going to elect the next president based on emotions. But maybe in the future, they can do something like this. And we can all read it. It might end up being 700 pages. It might end up being 3,000 pages. But wouldn't you rather sit through and read this, 3,000 pages, than to listen to all these commercials constantly saying what they're going to do and we still don't understand, and trashing the opponent? Do you really want to hear one more commercial that says how trashy the other person is? I am so sick of these commercials. I am so sick of not understanding the commercials. So I urge the American people to help me create a great RFP, make these officials responsible, put that in writing, make them responsible for this. Let's see how that works. And take that $1 billion, put it back in the economy, create some jobs, create some food for the poor, create some health care for those that can't afford it. Do something else with that $1 billion instead of hobnobbing from one city to another, telling the city how great you are when they could care less. I find it very funny that they spend a lot of time in Ohio. I won't get into that, but it's unfortunate, right? And Ohio's buying into it. But let's save the money. Let's create this RFP. Let me know what you think, and God bless you. For those of you that are going to be in the vote this year, let's try not to make it emotional, but let's try to get as much facts as possible in order to vote for the right person for our future. Thanks again for taking the time to listen to me.